Valentina Kerbin, you've just orbited Kerbal. What are you gonna do next? I'm going to Disney World! As soon as I get down!
St. Juan's home for the ADD.
Hello, this is Quan3217 bringing you Let's Play Season 2, Peculiar Inclination. When we last left our hero, Valentina Kerbin had just made the first trip into low Kerbin orbit. And she still hasn't finished that trip yet. But, like I said before, when we're actually doing a trip, we're going to give her one full orbit. And it does look like we have plenty of delta V in order to get out to the moon if we wanted to. But we don't, so we won't. Let's go ahead and give her a nice full orbit. Plus, we get to skip doing the night side because no one wants to look at a dark screen on YouTube. So let's see if we're in sunrise yet. Not quite. But we can watch the sunrise. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, I said, it's alright. So now let's see where we are in orbit. Bring it all the way around. I wish we had an official name for all the land and the features and stuff on this. I've seen plenty of maps of Kerbin, which have the various different features labeled, but I haven't seen anything official yet. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring down the orbit periapse to, I checked the tape from last time, and our successful orbit entry was from 75 kilometers down to minus 28 kilometers. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to keep it sufficiently shallow to not burn up because, yeah, I did the test last time on SimQuan in order to prove that I could re-enter without a heat shield. And then I stupidly went and flew that same rocket without a heat shield in a live mission. Not one of my greater moments, but that's okay. So we'll go ahead and eject our stage and then hop back to retrograde. Entry interface in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Entry interface, mark. Yeah, that's what NASA likes to call it. The part where... Yeah, entry interface is a part of the trip where you go from being in pure vacuum, where you don't even have to think about the air anymore, down to having to think about it. For NASA spacecraft, they like to set it at 125, or at about 125 kilometers, and officially it's exactly at 400,000 feet. And at Mars, it's 125 kilometers. But in both cases, yeah, you have to start taking into account drag in order to get an accurate orbit prediction, but you don't actually start hitting the atmosphere until much lower. I've run simulations myself in other programs with the space shuttle. And while it hits entry interface at 120 kilometers, it doesn't actually start flying until it gets down to about 80 kilometers. And likewise, if you watch here, we're already down to 60 kilometers, and we have no apparent heat pulse, and we have no apparent braking, no apparent drag. I'm sure that if I had Kerbal engineering on, that we'd be able to see the thing heat up, but we don't. And by the way, mods like that, for one thing, now that we've got 1.11, we've got the most important things that Kerbal engineering provides for us is periapps and apoapps, and maybe suicide burn when we get to that. But we're going to try and do this without mods, and if we decide that we need a mod, we're going to pay for it. And so there's a couple of mods that I have in mind, and there's actually about 3 left. There is Kerbal Alarm Clock, which I'm going to say is 100 points, and Kerbal Engineer, which I'm going to say is 500 points, and Trajectory, which I'm going to say is 750 points. And by points, in this case, I mean I'm going to earn that many science points and then use the cheat menu to throw them away. And once we do that, I'll show it to you guys on screen, and that's how I'm going to feel like I've earned the mod. And I think I've talked enough now to show that, yeah, we had to get down to about 50 kilometers before we started seeing heat. And all these thermometers over here, all these heat-sensitive things are actually... Oh yeah, we should probably do this. Get all the science from the upper atmosphere, and then we can, because this is by far not going to be the only time we ever go into orbit. We're going to go into orbit a lot, and one of the other times we go into orbit, we'll be happy to take science in low carbon orbit. Probably when we're carrying more experiments. Experiments are heating up, but our main capsule has not started seeing any temperature rise yet. And look, we're already down to 36 kilometers. We're like halfway down to the ground already. And we're still moving at, like 90% of orbital speed. Watch this re-entry. And we know this works because we saw it run in SimQuad. We're running the same experiment. We're running the same. Yeah, in fact, we even saw this one. We even saw the thermometer get pretty hot last time. But I have every confidence that we are going to survive this heat pulse. Looks like we're only getting up to about 2 Gs on the accelerometer. We're going to survive this heat pulse without even having to worry about a heat shield. Looks like our temperature's dropping a little bit, so we're past peak heating, but looks like we're still going up on acceleration. And it looks like we might be going down in acceleration as well, so it hit almost but not quite 3 Gs. And our parachute was staged with the separation of the upper stage, so we're not worried about that. And all we have to do is hands off, no sweat, landing on... Where are we? Well, this is the same continent that the Kerbal Space Center is on, but considerably further north. I was about to say it's almost a Woomerang, but that's not the valley that Woomerang is in, because Woomerang's actually on the other side of the world. But we're going to land on land, so we're going to be able to stick a flag in the ground. And this time around, since Valentina did the first flight instead of Jeb, we're not going to call the landing site Jebedopolis, we're going to call it Valentopolis. And And that's where we're going to put the 100-meter tall statue of Valentina. And that's where we're going to put the museum and the gift shop and all the other good stuff. And to mark the incredibly important, incredibly historically significant point of first landing. Now, I don't know if Vostok 1, if they have a monument or anything out there where the first actual landing from a first human in orbit is. But since the Americans did all of their big firsts at sea, they did all their landings for their big first at sea, there aren't really any monuments at the landing sites of very many American spacecraft. And Valentopolis is the reason that we can actually build a monument and build a statue and build a museum and a gift shop where we're actually going to land. Parachute has fully disreefed. Wow, that's pretty hot. That's more than, that's quite a bit warmer than room temperature. Let's go ahead and land it. One of the other nice things about a heat shield is that it's an extra cushioning layer for when you're landing. So that's the one thing that we didn't test when we actually tested the flight. Was how well does landing work? But as we just saw, landing works fine. Get on out of there. Valentopolis. First landing of a Kerbal from an orbital flight. Please exit through the gift shop. There we go. So I'll do the EVA report. There we go. Now we can get that cool selfie for our and there we go. Get that cool selfie for our collection back at the astronaut complex and for our thumbnail for our video. We got lots of science. Other funds recovery. And yay, advanced to level 1, but we already knew that. Now I got a total reputation of 88. So, stability, what kind of good parts do we get from that? Well, yeah, we like those. And does that actually have any control? Looks like no. But that's a part we want. We'll need some of these for Crossroads Baker. We got the more efficient engine, and that'll do it for this time. That'll do it for the science we got out of this one. And that'll do it for this episode. This has been Quan3217 saying, if at first you don't succeed, fly, fly again. And only that much space between 20,000 degrees and Jebediah's head. Kind of amazing.